Welcome to Tentative Title with Tim. This is a podcast about creativity, about process, about filmmaking, and about screenwriting. Welcome everybody back to the podcast. Once again, wherever you are in the world, whatever time of day that you're listening to this, I hope that your life is going well, that you're being creative, that you're finding ways to express yourself through your art, and that's what I hope for each and every one of you. So once again, I have to apologize for last week. I was intending to have a live stream on Tuesday, and wouldn't you know it, we came down with a stomach bug, and that was a lot of fun. So anyway, that happened, and I was not in any condition to live stream. So I put it out there. If you're following the Twitter page, I put it out there that I wasn't going to have a live stream. So if you were expecting one, I apologize. But I'm feeling much better. And this Tuesday, there should be a live stream without fail. And if there isn't, then maybe the universe is trying to tell me something. We shall see. So now, with that out of the way, let me talk about what I wanted to talk about today, which was essentially the idea of the remix. Now, when you hear a remix, when you hear the word remix, you think music, you think music. You think of taking a song that already exists and putting another beat to it, or finding a way to change it in some way so that it is a different version of itself. And we do that all the time as creative people. Like there is nothing new under the sun. There isn't. Like the world has been around for thousands of years, and the way in which we tell stories has lasted for that long, and it's been tried and true, and we understand what works and what doesn't. But every once in a while, somebody will come along and they will take a genre and turn it on its head, or they will drop a character that you would usually find in some other culture and put that into another culture, or just any number of ways in which you can take something that exists and turn it into something new. And that is the hope that we have every single time we sit down to create something, right? We're trying to find that hook. We're trying to find a way in which we can do something that is fresh, that is different, that has not been seen before. But like I said in one of my I a while back in a previous podcast about, we have these ingredients. We have the genre, we have stock characters, we have all of these things at our disposal, and it's like cooking. You kind of, you have to throw things together to see what happens, and that's how we come up with something that is close to being like new, or seems to be new. I often think of the fact that George Lucas, when he was making Star Wars, it seemed like something completely new. Like it was just it just came out of nowhere, and it just seemed like no one had ever thought of these these characters or these tropes or this this kind of story. Like there was there was a lot of like Japanese and spirituality and all these different kind of myths kind of mashed into one. And then when as time went on, you would hear that he borrowed a lot from like Kurosawa, and a Hidden Fortress is a major influence on that film. The Buck Rogers like TV show was a big influence on him. And so anybody who knows those sources, when they saw Star Wars, they were able to kind of pick those apart. But if you grew up in my generation, where it all seemed new, it seemed like a story that was kind of inevitable, and it was so good, and it just seemed so fresh and new that I don't know of like anybody as a kid who was thinking, well, that reminds me of a Kurosawa film, and that kind of reminds me of a Buck Rogers episode. None of us were doing that. We were excited because he had put these elements together, and he did it in such a way that it was really, really exciting, and we wanted to go on the ride. We wanted to experience it more. We wanted to go on further adventures with these characters. It just worked, and it hit at the right time, in which the like cinema at that time was very much it was just very depressing, very realistic, very much about crime and violence and and poverty, and just like cinema was trying to be really, really, really realistic. And this and also depressing and bad, or not bad like in quality, but just you didn't feel that great about yourself when when you were watching these films. But he came along with a story that actually had some kind of positivity, and that just it became the not the outlier, but he made a distinct counter programming, or just his thing stuck out because it was apart from what was coming, what had come out in that decade. So I often think of that film, and how there was so much that he took and created something that seemed to be brand new. And I think that we kind of have lost some of that creativity, and I think I have a reason why. I think I know what the reason is, and it has nothing to do with we're not being creative, or we don't have good ideas, because I think we all have really great ideas. I think we have the ability to come up with something that's really fresh, that's really new, that is just just allows for the next step in our culture to kind of come forth, so to speak. But I think it has to do with copyright law. And you may be surprised to hear me say that, but I think when we sit down to create something, there is this voice in the back of our head, besides the one that says it, oh, we suck, we're not creative, we can't do it, what are we doing? You're an imposter, all that nonsense that pops up. But I think there's another one to this fear that if we make something and it becomes something really big, that there's a possibility that somebody could come along and say, well, that was not your idea, that that was stolen from somebody else, and now all that hard work, all that, feeling good about, making this story that's popular, suddenly becomes this very stressful, kind of just it doesn't become fun anymore, because there's this legality hanging over this story that is possibly really great. And I have to say that, like, as much as I appreciate copyright, and that I think it's important for artists who have put in the hard work to make something, to be able to protect that, all that work, to be able to make sure that somebody doesn't just, walk in and say, well, I'm just going to take this because it's really good, and I know it's going to make money, and so like, and it, like you like it comes down to that. It comes down to credit and money. But apart from that, it's also stifles creativity. It also stifles this idea that you should be allowed to take what is out there, to take what exists, and start playing with the story, or start playing with those characters. And there are a lot of stories that are classics that are now in the public domain, which have been turned into movies, and that's really cool. I mean, that's the reason why we keep getting Robin Hood movies, and King Arthur movies. It's just it's out in the public domain, so you can take that story and you can have your interpretation of it, and nobody's going to come after you, because it's your interpretation of a classic story. But there are, like that with copyright law, depending, I think they have it where it's like 75 years or something like that. For certain like pieces of art. And that's a long time to wait, especially with a story that you may be really excited about, that you may have a different perspective on. And so it kind of forces you to, in a way, have to like make a new story but is also like that is also similar. So, my whole point with it is just that if you're going to continue to be a creative person, we're going to run into these issues constantly. Like, you're going to write something that somebody else is going to come along and say, that is not original. You took that from this other thing. And, at the time, maybe you had no idea it existed. And maybe you put in the legwork to, try to find out if a story like the one you wanted to write existed. But, it's kind of an expectation now that you have to expect that whatever it is you're making, there's going to be something out there that's going to be like it, that is going to have some elements that are exactly like your own story. And it's really sad that we've gotten to a point with with law where people kind of feel like they need to like sue each other in order to to kind of, it's like, I guess it depends on who's doing the suing. If it's the person who's like, no, this is my idea, and now someone else is making a lot of money off of it, then it's like, well, that gives them, you would want them to sue. You'd want them to get the credit and to be able to get, the money that's owed to them, especially if it's something that becomes really popular and becomes like a franchise or whatever. You would want that person to benefit from that hard work. But it also means that, as you're creating something, like you are potentially going to be creating something that already exists out there, and being having that fear of like, well, what what if I make something that already exists and becomes a legal issue? It's like, well, that's really, really scary, and that stifles creativity in like in a lot of ways. So I guess my point with this this whole thing is that I'm trying to find a middle ground, and I want to encourage you that if you are feeling this way, if you are feeling like you're not feeling original, you're not feeling like what you're making it, like you feel like there's this like redundancy in what it is you're making. And now it doesn't have to be writing. It can be, if you're making a film right now, if you're like writing a book, like whatever it is, just know that like you have the freedom to create whatever it is you want. Like, honestly, you have the freedom to write and make whatever you want. Where the issues come in is when, there's money involved, when there's like distribution, where the stakes become higher because there's more to lose in the long run. And that's where, you start to bring in a lawyer, like an entertainment lawyer, to help you, with, if you're trying to sell, like sell your movie or your TV show, making sure that like there's no copyright, on the thing you're trying to make. So there are people out there who can help you through that process so that you can stay creative, so you can so that you only have to worry about creating stuff and not have to worry so much about like the business side. But you should also keep the business side in mind, because that will help you, adjust, or, think about the thing you're making and think about where it actually like will land in the marketplace, because that's a very important part of it too, is just like where is this thing going to end up. And some people like will love a remix story about Alice in Wonderland, and some people won't. And finding out where where that is, and who would love that kind of story, it's like looking into those things as well. Now, if you're doing it for a hobby, if you're like, hey, on a just on a whim, I decided I was gonna do a remix version of like Alice in Wonderland for fun, and then you finish it, and then you're like, okay, well, hey, I'll just like throw it up on YouTube, or I'll just like like throw it out to like some colleagues to see what they think. You could possibly have your next project lined up too, but you don't have to. You can do it for fun and just like put it in a drawer somewhere, and just say, I just needed to get that creative part, like that idea that I had inside. I just needed to get it out on paper, and not really do anything with it because of, let's say it's something that is copyrighted. For like for TV writers, you write a spec script of something that already exists. It's like, it's understood that, you're not trying to sell this script. You're using it as a writing sample, in order to get a job. And so you're proving that you can write in somebody else's voice. That there are times when when it's used, you can use that skill to get a job. So I'm kind of like going all over the place, but the whole point is that creativity is a very like it's a very nebulous thing to talk about. But I also, I also encounter people who are kind of stifled by it, because they get stuck in this idea that they have to be original and that they have to do something that's unique. And sometimes it's good to do that. Like you're gonna like stand out, if you do, especially if it's good. But just have fun grabbing some elements of this and of that. Think about the things that you loved growing up. There's got to be something there that you can kind of like throw together and see what happens. And like not being so afraid of it, but just doing it and trying it out. What's the worst that can happen is that you make something and then you have to throw it out, or you have to delete it or whatever, or you just like put it in a drawer somewhere and never like look at it again. So I just want to encourage you guys to play, to take things that you love and see if you can smash two genres together, or take a character from one genre and see how they fit into another genre. There's so many different possibilities, and not to be stifled by the idea that there's copyright out there, because there is. And there's a possibility that you make something so original that you can copyright it, apart from, that you've changed it so much that it is a new thing, and then you can copyright it, even though there are similar elements to these other things that are also copyrighted. So there's that too. So yeah, that's just what I was kind of thinking about over the past week. I think we get kind of too stuck in our creative boxes, and we're just like, oh no, I got to do something original, but what is that? And I gotta do something that is this or that or the other thing. And it's like, well, how can you make that happen? How can you define it if you're not allowed to play with what's out there, if you're not allowed to just do the creative work and not feel like there's somebody looking over your shoulder ready to like pounce on you because they were like, oh no, you took that thing for that one thing and that other thing for that other thing, and oh, you're not creative, you're just stealing from like other things. It's like, well, yeah, you are, but we're creative people, so we find a way in which we can still take from the things that have influenced us and that we love, and turn them into something completely different, even though they feel like they're similar in many different ways. But it's different enough that it's enjoyable, and it's something completely new. So, all right, guys, go out there, find stuff, remix stuff, smash genres together, do all that kind of stuff, have fun, just keep being creative, keep doing, keep writing, keep making films, keep doing whatever it is you're doing, try things, don't be fearless. That I should have just called this podcast fearless, because it's just like there's so many ways in which we can build each other up, and to just not be afraid of being creative, because there's nothing to be afraid of. If something doesn't work, it may be embarrassing and may feel bad. It may feel like we don't know what we're doing, but you are way ahead of the person who is afraid to try it all. At least you tried something. And that's more than most people do, because they are so afraid. And you know what? We're not afraid. We try stuff. Not everything's going to work. And then we dust ourselves off and we try again. Or, we put it on the shelf and we think about it for a little bit, and then we come back to it, and that's when it clicks. but we keep trying. We don't stop. We don't give up. We just keep going because we can't help it. We're creative people. We can't help but try to take the tools that we have in the world and try to make something that other people can enjoy. Because essentially we love to make things that other people can look at and say, wow, that was amazing. I can't believe you did that. That was so cool. That applause that I know all of us are looking for. But we shouldn't do it necessarily for the applause, but we should do it because it's something that it interests us, that is, that we care about. And through that, the applause is just the icing on the cake. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. I hope this wasn't too much of a ramble, as I often do. But thank you, guys. I will talk to you on the next one.
If you'd like to connect with me, there is an email for the podcast. It's tentative.title.with.tim.podcast @gmail.com. There's also a Twitter account. The handle is @title_Tim. There's also a Facebook page where you can post questions, or you can connect with me there. Thank you guys for listening. I'll talk to you on the next one.